and when people say, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, and I say, well, you'll be dead much sooner if you don't sleep.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah. Welcome to the Wake Up Call podcast, where we talk all things sleep, wellness, and health. The Wake Up Call podcast is brought to you by Polysleep, the best memory foam mattress in Canada. Welcome to the Wake Up Call. I'm super excited to have certified pediatric sleep expert Tracy Braunstein with me today. And we're going to talk about sleep, especially for young parents.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask you, what brought you the famous nickname Sleep Geek? What got you into sleep in the first place?
So I will admit I didn't invent it. When I was doing my certification and surrounded by other sleep geeks, it was a term thrown around because we would get so fascinated by the science of sleep and, you know, just the whole world of pediatric sleep. And I remember when I was learning, I asked my instructor, I said, can I just lock you in a room for 8 hours and pick your brain? Because I just found it so fascinating that it actually was a science. Most of us don't realize it. So I guess hence the term sleep geek.
So it was actually your teacher that came up with that nickname?
I don't remember if it was exactly her or just, you know, other consultants in training. But yeah, it's sort of a term that we use in the community. Because we want to talk about things that maybe some other people may not find as interesting. So yeah, we like it. Like any science, you know, like Trekkies and other scientists, they're obsessed with the science the world that they live in. So for us, it's the same thing. Sleep geek.
So you're a mother of two. You're a consultant, having your own practice. That's quite a busy schedule. How do you balance all that?
Listen, I think like anybody, it's practice, it's trial and error, it's seeing what works for you. If I was able to take a snapshot of me at the start of this career versus now, I definitely balance better now than I did at the beginning. So I think when we talk balance, I think there's a stress to perfectly balance everything that we do right off the bat. And I think we have to give ourselves grace in knowing that you're not going to figure out the right balance for you. And things will change. You know, when I first started, my kids were very, very young. So the balance was different than now when they want to hang with their friends and they don't need me as much, you know, because they're teenagers. And so the shift, I think the thing is that it's a constant ebb and flow. It's an ongoing balancing act. So is it always perfect? No. At the beginning, I didn't balance properly. I took on too many people at once and I was, you know, attached to my phone and I was like burning the candle at both ends. And then I went, okay, because I actually had another business before I was a sleep consultant. So I was running two businesses.
Wow. And
had two young kids. And I went, oh, okay, hold on. Something's not working here. So I actually sold the previous one because I fell in love with the sleep side. Sleep geek. And so then started balancing that. And so I think it's an ebb and flow. People have to learn how to balance and what works for them, but prioritize yourself first, I think is the key.
I myself recognize myself in what you're saying, you know, founder, CEO, we're busy. I'm sure a lot of people in our audience recognize themselves as well. Sleep hygiene is such a complex sequence of a lot of little things that matters. What would you say are amongst the top 3 elements to keep in mind when you try to improve your overall sleep experience?
So the first thing is prioritizing sleep to start with. You know, when people say, oh, don't worry, you know, I'll sleep when I'm dead. For a long time, being sleep deprived was like wearing a badge of honor, right? Like, oh, I only slept 4 hours and I was up at 5 and I went to the gym and then I worked all day and this, you know, and when people say, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, and I say, well, you'll be dead much sooner if you don't sleep, is my response to that. So I think now we're more aware of how important sleep is. And so we're prioritizing our sleep more. So that's number one, is to actually make sleep a priority, because if it's not, then your sleep hygiene is going to be non-existent. So making it a priority, being in touch with your body, knowing what you need. So the amount of sleep that you need to function is important. I need a lot of sleep. Women tend to need more sleep than men, fun fact. But I know I need like 9 hours, 10 hours. Then I'm at my best. Can I function on 6 or 7? Sure. Not as well as 9 or 10. You may need 8. And so knowing how much sleep you need and then making sure that you're giving your body the opportunity to get that sleep. So for you, if you need to go to bed at 10 so that you can get up at 6, then that's what you need. So knowing your number is important. Obviously, environment is the key. Super dark room. And this goes for across the board. I don't care how old you are, from 0 to 99, we all sleep best in super dark rooms. Blackout blinds essential. Temperature is important. We all sleep best in cooler rooms. As we can attest, when AC has not been working, nobody's sleeping well. So, good temperature, ideal sleep temperature is between 19 and 21 degrees for everybody. And so super dark, good temperature. And for adults, we don't want, unless, logistically you have no other choice, you don't want a mini office in your room. You don't want your desk with your computer and bills and things that are triggering for your wake time, things that you're going to look over and go, ooh, oh yeah, I have to answer that email. Exactly. So you don't want that. You don't want gym equipment in your room. And let's be honest, the treadmills and the bicycles end up as clothes hangers most of the time anyway. So we don't want that. You want your sleep environment. I tell people, make it into like a mini spa for adults. Make sure it's free of clutter. You walk in and you should feel that, like the same way you feel when you walk into a spa, for example. Make it smell nice. Have candles if you want. Have proper beddings, like good mattresses. And I'm not saying that as intentionally here. I'm being totally honest. You need to prioritize your sleep space. And it should really just be for sleep, relaxation, intimacy, not working, I don't even like to have TVs in bedrooms, to be honest. And with kids, it's the same thing. That ideal sleep environment is the first thing when we want to optimize sleep and look at sleep hygiene. Yeah.
Talking about children, obviously, we've realized throughout the years that building these habits, whether they're good or bad, there's opportunity when things changes, when there's a moment in life that happens. Children is one of them. So parents often have the opportunity to build new habits, deconstruct old bad habits, but very often are faced with lack of sleep. There's stress, first child, they're concerned. Surprisingly, after the second or third, it doesn't seem to be that stressful, but the first child especially, I saw my sister, my brother going through it. What would be a couple of advice you would give to parents that just had their kid?
So I have a lot of advice, sort of what I do on a daily basis. The first thing that I tell when I have moms call me or dads, that, oh my gosh, okay, my baby's 3 weeks old and there's stress and they're not sleeping and all that. I just say, let me give you one gift right now. No bad habits can be formed really under 4 months of age. You are in survival mode right now. You are in a period where you are both getting to know each other. Your baby's getting to know you. You're getting to know your baby. Your priority is to safely maximize sleep, however you need to. The problem now, and we felt the stress before, but I have to say it's tenfold now because of the pressures that we see on social media.
Yeah.
Right? We weren't exposed when I had my first, I think like Facebook was, God, that sounds old, but like Facebook was just starting, we didn't have Instagram and all this. So I didn't sit there scrolling when I'm sleep deprived and seeing all these people boasting about, oh my God, my baby just slept like 10 hours straight. Great. And then you feel less than, right? So it's way too much opinion, information, most of the time not accurate, flooding the brains, okay? When we're already sleep deprived, when we're already feeling vulnerable. So my big gift to new parents, don't stress. Because whatever you do, you're not going to spoil your baby by picking them up. You should be tending to your baby as they need. No bad habits will be formed. You have time for sleep work and sleep training after 4 months of age. But until that time, do what you need to do to keep you and your baby well rested. Again, I'll stress while being safe. I'm not saying fall asleep with your baby on your lap on a couch. It's a different story. And reach out to your network, to your support system. So, you've been up all night, or maybe you slept 2-3 hours, and a parent, like a grandparent, your parent wants to come, or, your partner maybe slept more. Let them take the baby for a little bit. Let them take the baby for a walk, and you try to relax. So use your network and to not stress about sleep because you have time. That's the main thing for parents, because it's like getting to know. You have a new roommate. You have like a new roommate, a complete stranger that's just moved into your house and completely rocked your world and has changed your lifestyle. And it's an adaptation process.
I love that image. You have a new roommate, which is absolutely true. You got something totally new in your household and you have to deal with it. A lot of parents are worried about babies crying.
Mm.
And there's so many things like you mentioned on social media. Is there a one-size-fits-all solution?
This could be a whole hour podcast just talking about this topic, let me tell you. Not everybody, vast majority of parents are worried about crying. The astounding, unanimous research conclusions, there are no adverse effects to crying in sleep training. It doesn't elicit a toxic stress response. Your baby will not feel abandoned. They will not hate you. They will not end up in therapy in 20 years because you let them cry for sleep training. It is a safe, natural part of the process. It's actually part of how they start to self-regulate and calm. When we do sleep training properly, and we have a baby that is well cared for and fed and loved, which again, thankfully, the vast majority are, it's only a win-win. The problem is, once again, the vast information highway that we have access to, and you can take any topic. You're going to find people saying all kinds of things about things. I mean, God, even eating kale. This is a topic now. Eat kale. It's great for you. Don't eat kale. It has, what is it, like oxalates or whatever that, like in every topic, you're going to find something. And then once you find that thing that agrees with your fear, you ride that highway, and then it's a misery loves company kind of thing. Listen, I've been there, done that. When I had my first, I was not a sleep consultant. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want crying because I was like, no way, I'm obsessed with my baby. I don't want to let him cry. Now, knowing what I know, I actually regret not sleep training him earlier. Okay. So a long-winded answer to say that crying is not harmful. It's going to happen when we make changes, when we give our children or babies the space to self-soothe. There's going to be crying, always. And if anybody tells anybody you can sleep train with no crying, they're lying. It's not true.
Let's say we're in a public environment, a cafe, and we hear these two women speaking, and one giving advice to her friend who just got her baby, and says, "Oh, I've checked out online, and the best time for you to sleep is when your baby sleep. So adjust your baby schedule." What would you say to that?
It's really hard. So I remember specifically getting that advice, like sleep when your baby sleeps. And here's the thing, I don't really tell moms to do that now because we're so, like, it's so 100% of your time when your baby's awake. You're with them, I made a joke reel once because it's like, me in the shower. I wasn't really in the shower, but spoiler alert. But, you don't have time for yourself at all. And so that can get very depressing. You feel very alienated from your friends, the world. I remember used to look outside the window and being like, oh yeah, people are like going for lunch and people are doing these things, and you're in a world of like baby. And so to just do baby and then sleep when your baby's sleeping and then get up and just do baby, it does wear on you. So yes, of course, if you did not sleep the whole night, take a nap when your baby's napping. But it's also important to have your time to like shower or maybe get on the phone with a friend or like answer some emails, mindlessly scroll or to catch up on your favorite Netflix show, whatever. So take some time to yourself, but don't burn yourself, on both ends where you're not getting any sleep. So yeah, and you can't listen, if you are a night owl and you're used to like watching TV till 2 a.m., don't do that. Because you're going to have to be up in 4 hours with your child. So in that way, yes, you want to sleep. You have to adjust your schedule a little because you got a baby now. It's like, hello to motherhood or parenting. And yeah, you do have to prioritize your sleep and shift things a little bit.
There's a couple of things that happen in the human body when we have children, which are amazing. There's also sometimes, unfortunately, people who experience struggles, mental health issues, postpartum. And it's very hard, not only for the person, but for their entourage, their family, who don't know how to react. I think we're really ill-equipped to understand that. It's something we hope doesn't happen, so we don't have to talk about it, but it happens. What would be the first suggestion you give to someone who might go through this situation?
Maternal mental health is a huge topic, and it is vastly important. It is not given enough attention to. Babies need to be taken care of 100%, but new moms do as well. I think the partner has to be aware of signs of like postpartum depression, anxiety. If you have somebody that suffered from mental health issues beforehand, so if they suffered from anxiety and depression before having a baby, then watch them, because sleep deprivation exacerbates anxiety and depression and other mental illnesses. And so if we are sleep deprived and we're now anxious about parenting and having this baby and caring for this baby, and is the baby okay, and all the other things that come with it, we're very easily triggered. And so the lack of sleep can really offset some trouble. So you have to be aware and use that network, support moms that are exhibiting any signs of sort of postpartum depression. Taking care of yourself and your mental health and prioritizing your own rest is important. A lot of parents I'll hear, oh, well, I don't want to punish. They think that like, oh, I don't want to punish the baby and sleep train, as if sleep training's punishment. It's not something you do to your baby. It's something you do for your baby. Let me just put that out there. But if you are, your baby's exhausted and you're exhausted, nothing's working. And so you cannot be 100% there for your baby. You can't be the best parent that you want to be if you are a zombie. Right? So we need to prioritize our own rest. Like, moms, you matter too, right? It's not just about our baby. Our babies are a priority for sure, but if you're not good, you're not going to be good for your baby. So you matter as well.
Now I'm going to exaggerate a bit, but we talked about social media. We see these videos of my kid is 2-year-old. He does the laundry. He got 150 IQ. Or I trained during my pregnancy, and look at me 2 weeks after I gave birth, I could do a Victoria's Secret fashion show. And there's just so many things out there that you're like, is this reality? Is how much pressure that adds to the complexity of having to be a new parent? And is any of that true? I just want to reassure the audience, because I don't think it is.
You know how many times I tell my clients, put your phone down. Stop. Put your phone down. What people forget about social media, just talking to friends. Okay. It seems to be this very unspoken competition.
I wouldn't dare to say it because I'm going to be hated, but I don't have a kid.
Yeah.
And when we go to, we're at an age where a lot of our friends have kids. And then suddenly I see 3, 4, 5 women and like, oh, he spoke 2 weeks before yours. And I'm like, is that relevant? Where are we going in this subject?
Yeah. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. My baby. Oh my God. He slept like 10 hours last night. And then, but then if we dig deeper, you slept 10 hours, but in your bed, or you slept 10 hours, but woke up 5 times. Like there are other micro truths under those big sweeping statements. So for some reason, it seems to be this little like competition. So that's pressure just in the circle of friends and like your mother-in-law or your, parents or neighbors or whatever. And then on social media, it's like anything else. Can I swear on podcasts? Because most of the time it's bullshit.
It is.
It really is. Like the guy that's in his like mansion, it's an Airbnb that he rented for the day, and things like that. Use it for entertainment. There's good information out there, but make sure that the sources that you are getting your information from is credible. The vast majority, and look, when we go out, we get, all of us, I mean, myself included, it's so easy. You get warped into the world of scrolling, and you're looking at all these things. And then you go out into the world and you're like, nobody looks like that. Nobody's doing that. So no, like, don't, as difficult as it is, use it for entertainment value. Know that you are not alone in your struggles, because maybe there is that 2-year-old folding laundry. Send him to my house. But there is, but that's like the little 6-year-old power lifter from Mexico somewhere. Like there's gonna be these really special, unique situations. And even then,
It's an exception.
it's an exception.
Yeah.
The vast majority, no, they're not. And they are just like you. And if they don't have this struggle with their 6-month-old, they had it when they were 4 months. And so, yeah, it's easier said than done, but vast majority BS.
One thing I've experienced firsthand, and I don't have kids, so I'm really unbiased on that subject, is how life-changing sleep training can be for parents. I went to friends who didn't have baby that were sleep trained, and the opposite. And it was just worlds apart.
Again,
when should I consider that?
So you can start sleep training at 4 months of age. Okay. Take into account if your baby is born early, like a month early, then it would be adjusted. So you want to look when biologically they're at least like between 15 and 16 weeks.
Sure.
That's when you can start. Do you have to start then? No, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If everybody's super well rested and safe and whatever you're doing, then hey, ride with that. But you can start. So if there are changes, if there are struggles, if everybody's tired, you can start your sleep training as of 4 months of age. And it is absolutely, this is the biggest part of, or my favorite thing of what I do, and why I keep doing it, is because it's so life-changing. Like, it's so rewarding for me. I see changes in people. I joke and I say, I'm not just a sleep trainer or sleep consultant. I'm a marriage counselor. I'm a therapist. It saves marriages, because let me tell you, nobody likes each other very much when everybody's exhausted. These children, these babies that when I first meet them, there's like dark circles and nobody's functioning. And then it's like a world opens up and we have really happy, well-rested babies, and moms feel empowered, and moms can be at their best because they're also now sleeping, and they also now like their husbands or wives again because they're sleeping, and it's just such a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And it really is, I'm not being dramatic, it is completely life-changing when you go from severe sleep deprivation and frustration to being well-rested. It's night and day, which I'm sure I don't need to tell you. But
I mean, to piggyback on what you just said, I've seen parents after sleep training creating healthier habits and having a better sleep hygiene because they understand how a certain sequence in the routine will impact, bath time, story time, going to bed at that time, reading the story, then turning the light. That these are routines. These are triggers.
Yep.
We work the same.
Yeah. Well, when, a good bedtime routine and the predictability of that and the consistency of that, it prepares our minds, our bodies for sleep. We start to wind down. And that's why children do great at daycare, because everything's so structured and so predictable and consistent. Children feel safest and most secure when there is predictability, when they know, oh, I had my bath, next, now I know a story, and then their story. So it's okay to have those boundaries. We want to have the predictability of our routines because then our children feel safe and secure and relaxed. And then we do too. And here's the big error that somehow things go askew. We stop having a bedtime routine at some point. I don't know if it's in adolescence, in young adulthood. We start working, career starts becoming the priority, and we lose it.
Yeah.
And even adults that struggle with sleep, one of the first thing, we want to bring back that bedtime routine. And maybe your wife isn't going to sit down and read you a story, but, you need to have, take a nice warm bath, go into bed with a book or a non-backlit Kindle or whatever, do some reading or do some stretches. If you like yoga, do some of that. If you want to do puzzles or draw, just something not electronic, listen to podcasts, those sort of things, and have your wind down routines, because we shouldn't really lose them ever at any age, really.
I agree. One thing we like to do in this podcast is to answer the most popular question people have on Google or in forums. And this one seems to come back all the time. I think we've addressed a bit of it, but it's always about how can I sleep longer? But what I would like to address is that seems to be like there's an underlying issue underneath, which is not necessarily longer, but have better sleep.
The quality
of it. What would you say? And we talked about it earlier, the environment, all that, but where do most people fail at understanding that?
Well, it's again about, the number, right? Knowing when you need to get to sleep. So if you need to get up at 6, don't be watching TV till 1 a.m. Okay. So when our bodies are overtired, across the board, this applies to kids and adults, we have a harder time falling asleep. And then the quality of our sleep is compromised. So you want to avoid being in sort of overtired state, right? Because you go into second wind and then you're going to bed way too late. And then you're not getting enough sleep. And then you end up in this vicious cycle. So your time is important. What you're consuming before sleep is important as well. If you think, oh, I'm going to have, a couple glasses of wine and then you're going to fall asleep great. But it affects the quality of your sleep big time, right? Because your body's metabolizing the alcohol overnight and that wakes you, and nobody feels good the next day. Nobody ever, has some drinks and wakes up and is like, oh, yes, I feel amazing. That doesn't happen. So heavy foods, spicy foods, big fatty meals, a lot of alcohol, drugs, all of that will affect the quality of your sleep. And then what goes on up here between two ears, right?
Yeah.
So our anxiety, our intrusive thoughts. I like to suggest, when I work with older children or adolescents, and in lunch and learns that I do, I will suggest to have like a dump it list, I call it. So you have whether you want it to, I'd rather not be a phone because then we have the light and all that. That's a whole other thing. But, remember pen and paper? That.
Yeah.
So pen and paper, you have that beside your bed. And so if you have an intrusive thought or you have something that you're ruminating about, just write it down. And then I've dumped it out of my brain. It's on this paper. I will deal with it tomorrow or when I wake up. And so it's just that act, for younger children, it's great. You can have more fun with it. You can have an arts and crafts day and make a little like a treasure box and have it like your thoughts box. And it's beside the bed and you have little Post-its and you write it and you put the thought or something that they're worried about in the box. And then the next day we open it and we address it and we deal with it. So taking it out and putting it on paper is very effective to get our minds sort of a little bit more relaxed as well. So those are the things that typically will affect the quality of our sleep. What we've consumed, food, drink, when we're going to bed, and then what's going on in our minds is a big thing. Of course, there are things like medications and things that people might be on that cause insomnia, but that's a different topic. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah.
Tracy, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For these amazing and very valuable insights. If people want to go check your services, what you're doing, I think they can go on the website, SleepTight You're also on social media. You're quite active at SleepTight Solution.
Correct.
So thank you once again for joining us on the pod today. And I would invite everybody who saw themselves today to get in touch with Tracy. She's simply amazing.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to The Wake Up Call. If you liked what you heard today, do not forget to rate, follow, subscribe, or perhaps leave a comment below. New episode of The Wake Up Call drops on the third Wednesday every month. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single episode. For all of us here at the Polysleep studio, I'm Jeremiah Curvers. Until next time.